I first noticed the sound on a Tuesday night, just past midnight, when the world outside my window felt unusually quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you pause, as if something is listening back. I was lying on my bed, half awake, drifting between thoughts, when it came, soft, distant, as though carried by the fabric of the night itself. It wasn't knocking. It wasn't footsteps. It wasn't anything familiar. It was more like a hum, a gentle vibration of air, rising and falling in a slow, hypnotic rhythm, almost musical, almost alive.
At first, I thought it was the old ceiling fan settling into its nightly complaints, or maybe a neighbor's TV leaking through the walls. But the sound felt too close, moving with a strange intention, almost like it was searching for a place to land. I sat up, holding my breath, and just like that, the sound faded, dissolving into the silence as if it had never existed at all. I waited. The seconds stretched. Nothing.
I lay back down, telling myself it was probably nothing, just my tired mind stitching noise into the dark. But when I closed my eyes again, the sound returned, softer this time, warmer, as though someone was humming from the far corner of my room, gentle and patient, like a lullaby I couldn't quite remember. "What are you?" I whispered. The humming paused, almost as if responding. I didn't feel afraid, just watched, not by something harmful, but something curious, something quiet, something that felt like it wanted to be understood. And then, as the moonlight shifted across the wall, I realized the sound wasn't coming from outside, or from the corner, or the hallway. It was coming from somewhere much closer, somewhere impossible, somewhere inside the walls. The house seemed to inhale around me, its wooden frame creaking with a long-forgotten memory. And in that moment, I had the strangest feeling that the sound wasn't new at all, that it had always been there, waiting for the right night when I would finally be awake enough to hear it.
I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The sound didn't come back again, but somehow it stayed with me, a soft echo in my chest, a lingering note that refused to fade. And I knew, without knowing why, that it wasn't done with me yet. When I opened my eyes, the forest was darker than before. Not night dark, something else, as if the trees themselves were blocking out the sky. The silence pressed harder now. Even my heartbeat felt muffled, like it was happening inside someone else's chest. I tried to retrace my steps, but the ground beneath me had changed. The dirt trail was gone, replaced by a soft, mossy floor that sunk under my feet like damp carpet. And that's when I noticed something new. There were footprints beside mine, large, deep, fresh, but they made no sound. I bent down to get a closer look, and the moment I touched the edge of the footprint, the silence shifted. Not broken, shifted, like someone inhaling right behind me. I spun around. Nothing. But the trees, they weren't in the same place anymore. I knew they weren't. The forest was rearranging itself, trying to close in. I forced myself forward, pushing through the branches. My breath grew heavy, but even that didn't make any sound. My lungs felt empty, desperate for noise.
Then I saw it. A clearing, perfectly circular, too perfect. And in the center stood a wooden post, old, cracked, covered in strange symbols carved deep into the grain. A rope was tied around it. A rope that was moving from below the ground. Slow, steady, deliberate. My hands shook as I reached toward the post. The moment my fingertips brushed the wood, the silence shattered. Not with sound, but with something worse. A voice inside my head whispered, "You shouldn't have come back." I stumbled backward as the ground beneath the post began to split open, and something started to climb out.
The split in the ground widened, not violently, not with the roar of breaking earth, but with a slow exhale, as if the forest had been holding its breath for years. And then the rope tightened. A hand emerged first, pale, mud-stained, motionless, not dead, just waiting. The hand gripped the rope as if testing it, and when it was sure the silence was complete, a second hand rose beside it. My instinct told me to run. But something deeper, something old held me still, like the forest wanted me here, like it had brought me back for a reason. The figure pulled itself halfway out of the earth. A face appeared, or rather, the outline of one, eyes that didn't fully exist, a mouth that wasn't carved to speak. Yet, the moment its head tilted toward me, I heard something for the first time since entering the woods. A faint ringing, like glass trembling, like a memory trying to return. I took a step back. The ringing grew sharper, not louder, just clearer. And then it hit me. The sound wasn't coming from the creature. It was coming from me. From somewhere inside my chest. A forgotten echo. The figure raised its arm toward me, not threateningly, but slowly, gently, the way someone might reach for a lantern in the dark. And in that motion, I realized something. It wasn't climbing out to harm me. It was climbing out because of me. Because I touched the post, because I heard the silence shift, because I remembered this place, even if I didn't understand how.
Its fingers brushed the air only inches from my hand. No sound, not even breath, but the ringing inside me grew into a soft hum, steady, rhythmic, familiar. Then the creature whispered, without moving its lips, "You left something here." My throat tightened. I tried to speak, but no words came out, not because I was scared, but because the forest wouldn't allow it.
The figure slowly pointed to something behind me. I turned and froze. There, lying perfectly centered at the edge of the clearing, was an object wrapped in faded cloth. A shape I somehow recognized, a shape I didn't remember losing. The hum inside my chest synced with the pulse beneath the cloth, like the forest had been guarding it, waiting for me to claim it.
But the moment I stepped toward it, the trees shifted again. Closer, watching, listening without ears. The figure whispered a second time, "Take it before it wakes."
The cloth-wrapped object felt heavier with every step I took toward it, not because of weight, but because of memory. My hand trembled as I reached out. The forest leaned in, branches creaking in a rhythm too deliberate to be wind. The creature behind me stayed half-risen from the ground, its unreadable face turned toward the bundle, almost waiting, almost afraid. I knelt down, fingers brushing the rough fabric. Cold, dusty, but familiar.
A familiarity that made my chest tighten. I hesitated, and the forest reacted. Not violently, but with a slow, collective inhale. Millions of tiny leaves lifting as if suspended by a breath that didn't belong to me. As if the woods themselves were holding still. I pulled the cloth open. Inside was a small wooden box. Dark, worn, edges softened by time. Its lid was carved with shallow grooves, old symbols maybe, or handwriting eroded beyond meaning. But the moment I touched it, the humming in my chest changed. Not louder, more focused, like a distant memory stepping into light. I lifted the box, the forest exhaled. A faint shiver slid through the trees. Not wind, not movement, but recognition. Behind me, the creature shifted, slow, careful, as if standing too fast might shatter the silence binding everything together. It raised its head, and even without a mouth, I felt it speak. You locked it away. The words were not sounds, they bloomed inside my thoughts, soft but heavy. Why? The creature asked. My breath caught, not because I had an answer, but because I suddenly felt the weight of forgetting.
I looked down at the box. My thumbs traced the worn edges, and something about the texture sparked a flicker of memory. The way one remembers the scent of an old room they haven't entered in years. I swallowed hard. I don't remember, I whispered, even though my voice made no sound. The creature's head tilted slightly, the gesture almost human, almost disappointed. The forest remembers. A faint breeze curled around me, gentle but aware. It carried the scent of damp earth and something else. Ash.
Subtle but unmistakable. The same scent that lingered in dreams I could never fully recall. The creature lifted an arm and pointed deeper into the woods, toward a narrow path I hadn't noticed before. A path perfectly straight, as if carved deliberately, leading somewhere the forest had been hiding, somewhere it now wanted me to return. "Take the box," the creature said. "Follow the quiet." My pulse quickened, because the path wasn't just a way forward. It felt like a way back. Back to whatever I left here. Back to whatever I promised these woods long ago. I tightened my grip on the box. The forest dimmed around me, and the path waited. The box felt warmer now, as if it had awakened the moment I decided to take it with me. I stepped onto the narrow path. The forest responded instantly, not by growing darker, but by becoming quieter. The difference was subtle at first, a soft muting of distant leaves, a gentle thickening of the air. But the more I walked, the more I realized something strange.
The deeper I went, the more the forest stopped making any sound at all. No birds, no wind, no shifting branches, just silence. A silence so complete, it felt like I was walking underwater. The trees on either side grew taller, straighter, almost uniform, their trunks pale, smooth, and almost glowing from within, like bone left in moonlight.
The path beneath my feet remained perfectly clean. Not a single fallen leaf, not a trace of disturbed soil. It was as if nothing alive had walked this way for a very, very long time. Yet the air wasn't empty. It was watching. After several minutes, I noticed something ahead. A faint shimmer, like heat rising from pavement. But the air was cold, too cold. The shimmering grew clearer the closer I got, until I realized it wasn't heat. It was sound, or rather, the absence of it.
A wavering distortion, like a veil made from quiet itself. My breath tightened, and then I heard it, not with ears, inside my mind, a soft tapping, tock, 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 like someone drumming a finger against wood. My eyes dropped to the box in my hands. It was vibrating, not violently, more like it was responding to something calling it, calling me.
The tapping grew clearer, steadier, almost rhythmic. I lifted the box slightly, and the tapping softened, like it recognized my attention. My fingers hovered over the lid. A part of me wanted to open it right there, to end this growing pressure inside my chest, to know what I had locked away all those years ago. But the shimmering curtain of silence in front of me pulsed once, twice, inviting, as if saying, "Not here." A chill spread down my spine. I stepped closer. The air thickened. My heartbeat echoed inside my head like distant drums. And for the first time since entering the forest, I felt something familiar. A presence, not dangerous, not comforting, but known. The curtain of silence parted. Behind it stood a structure. Small, simple, made of dark wood, a hut, old, sunken slightly into the earth, as if the forest had been trying to swallow it for years. The sight of it pulled something deep inside me. A memory trying to break free. My fingers tightened around the box. This hut, I'd been here before, long ago. The creature's voice drifted into my thoughts one last time, faint, distant. The truth is waiting. The air around the hut was utterly still. I stepped forward, and the forest, for the first time, felt like it was holding its breath. The hut looked abandoned, the kind of place time forgets, where dust and memories settle together. But as I approached, I realized something unsettling. There was no dust, no cobwebs, no signs of decay. The wood was old, but not worn, untouched, preserved, as if the forest itself was protecting it. I reached the doorway. A faint hum vibrated through the air, matching the slow pulse of the box in my hands, almost like they were part of the same rhythm. I stepped inside. The interior was dim, yet I could see everything clearly. Not because there was light, but because the shadows seemed to move away from me, opening space where I looked. A single table, a single chair, and on the table, a circular mark burned into the wood, perfectly shaped, as if something had rested there for years. My heart tightened. I didn't know why, but I knew the box fit that circle. The walls of the hut were lined with carved symbols etched deep
into the wood. Soft spirals, sharp lines, shapes resembling sound waves frozen in place. They were familiar, painfully familiar. A memory flickered, me as a child, standing in this very room, tiny fingers tracing those same carvings. But the memory dissolved before I could grasp it. The box pulsed again. My hands moved on their own, lifting it toward the marked spot on the table. As soon as the box aligned with the circle, the carvings on the walls vibrated very gently, a low hum like breath caught in the throat. I placed the box down. The hum intensified, filling the room. Not loud, but dense, a sound you could feel in your bones. The latch on the box shook once, then stopped. The hum cut off instantly. In the sudden silence, I heard something behind me. A soft exhale, not mine.
Slow, steady, just one breath. I turned. Nothing. The hut was empty, but the air was different, heavier, thicker. As if something had been standing behind me and had only just stepped out of sight. My throat tightened. The box on the table clicked softly, a tiny mechanical sound, like a lock releasing. I froze. The lid was rising. Not fast, not slow, just rising on its own. The final memory I'd buried, the truth this forest had kept silent for years, it was about to return. The lid opened. Something inside shifted. A whisper, soft, breathless, curled into the room. You finally brought it back.
The whisper drifted through the hut, like a warm breath sliding across the back of my neck. I didn't turn, couldn't. My body refused to move, as if the forest itself had wrapped vines around my ankles. The box remained open on the table, but what was inside didn't look like an object. It looked like movement. A slow, swirling shimmer, almost like air bending inward, as if sound itself had been folded, compressed into a shape that refused to stay still. A faint glow pulsed within it, gentle, rhythmic, alive. And the whisper came again, softer this time. You remember, don't you? My lips parted, but no sound came out. I didn't remember, but my body reacted as if I should. The carvings on the walls began to vibrate again, but not randomly. This time, they resonated to a pattern, a sequence, like a lullaby played without instruments, a song without sound. The swirling light inside the box stretched upward, forming the outline of something. A small shape at first, then taller, then clearer. A silhouette. A child-sized figure standing in front of me, made of soft blue-white light, as if woven from the breeze.
It didn't have a face, just a smooth, blurred surface where features should have been. But when it tilted its head toward me, my chest tightened with a strange familiarity. I stepped back without meaning to. The figure didn't move. Instead, its voice, if you could call it a voice, curled into my mind like a memory returning home. We used to listen together before you forgot. My breath hitched. Forgot what? The hut creaked gently, as if everything inside it was leaning closer. The figure lifted one hand. Its form wavered, flickering like a candle caught in a draft. When it spoke again, the words came with the weight of something old, something patient. The forest kept your silence for you, but it can't hold it forever. A shiver ran down my spine. Behind me, the door of the hut slowly eased shut with a soft wooden sigh. Not forced, but deliberate. The light figure turned toward the carvings on the wall. Its hand reached out, and each symbol it touched lit up with a pale firelight glow. One after another, the carvings formed a path of illumination around the room. Then it pointed toward the far wall, a place where no carvings existed, just bare wood. But when I looked closely, I realized something unsettling. It wasn't bare. It had a carving, just one. A single shape I had somehow overlooked. A human silhouette carved into the wall with a hollow circle where the heart should be. Under it, text carved in shaky, uneven lines. Return the sound you took. My pulse pounded. The figure spoke again. Part of you never left this forest. The light around it flickered, dimmed, then pulsed brighter, as if bracing itself for what it was about to show me. The light figure stood in front of the carved silhouette on the wall, as though it were looking at a reflection of itself. A soft hum filled the hut, not loud, not sharp, but deep enough that I felt it behind my ribs. The carvings around the room responded again, glowing faintly in time with the hum, like fireflies breathing. Then the figure turned toward me, slowly, gently, almost sadly.
Its voice brushed the inside of my thoughts. You took something that belonged to all of us. I swallowed hard. Me? I don't even remember coming here. The figure drifted closer, its glow warming the air between us. But instead of answering, it touched the center of my chest, right above my heartbeat. A sharp, almost electric warmth spread outward, and suddenly the hut was gone. The forest was gone.
Everything around me dissolved into a soft, pale gold haze, like sunlight filtered through water. I stood in the middle of it, weightless. At first, I thought it was a dream, until I saw shapes moving at the edges of the haze. Small shapes, familiar ones. Children made of the same shimmering light as the figure in the hut, some laughing silently, some chasing each other, some sitting together in circles as if listening to a story.
No sound, not a single one, just the glow of them and the echoing feeling of joy that somehow reached me without words. Then I saw her, a girl standing alone, slightly apart from the others, holding a small wooden box. The box, the same one I had just opened in the hut. Her glow flickered softly as she ran her fingers along its edges.
She looked up, and her faceless head tilted exactly the way the figure in the hut had. And then I felt it. A memory cracked open inside me, like a locked door finally giving way. I was here, long ago, not as a child, but older, old enough to understand, but too young to carry the weight of it. I had come to this forest searching for silence, not peace, not magic, just an escape.
An escape from the world too loud, with other people's pain, other people's anger, other people's expectations. The girl of light had shown me the box, shown me what was inside. Sound made physical, music woven into matter, emotion given shape. And I, foolish, frightened, overwhelmed, I took it.
I didn't steal it with malice. I took it because I was drowning, because silence felt safer than feeling anything. But by taking it, I had unbalanced something ancient. The memory shift faded, the golden haze folding back into the shadows of the hut. My knees buckled, and I caught myself on the edge of the table. The light figure stood where it had been, patient, watching. The hum had stopped.
The carvings had dimmed. The box on the table sat open and still. The figure's voice brushed the edges of my mind. You didn't mean harm, but the forest kept the silence you carried away. Now it wants its sound back. A cold chill ran through me as the figure pointed once more toward the single carving on the wall, the human shape with the hollow heart. This time I noticed something I hadn't before. The hollow circle was glowing, faintly but unmistakably, like something inside it was waking up. The figure's voice grew fainter, as though it was losing strength.
You must remember the last part, or the forest will remember for you. I stared at the glowing heart shape, my own pulse pounding in my ears. What's the last part? The figure dimmed, flickered, and for the first time, its voice sounded afraid. The moment you stopped hearing us.
The hollow heart on the wall pulsed again, slow, steady, almost like it was syncing itself to my own heartbeat. I stepped closer without realizing it, drawn by an invisible pull, as though the carving itself remembered me, even when I didn't remember it. The light figure flickered weakly behind me, its glow thinning at the edges like smoke unraveling. "Please," I whispered, "tell me the last part. Tell me what I forgot." But the figure didn't answer. It only lifted a trembling hand and pointed at the glowing hollow heart again. The moment my fingers brushed the carved circle, everything collapsed. Not violently, not jarringly, more like falling into a deep, warm lake, where memories drifted beneath the surface, waiting to be touched. I sank into another memory. It was night, a different night, years ago. I stood in the same hut, younger, exhausted, carrying a weight in my chest heavier than any box.
The glowing children watched me in silence. The girl with the box stood closest, her light flickering softly as if she were worried about me. I remembered the ache inside me, the fear that sound, real sound, would crush me. Human voices had become too sharp, too heavy, too filled with things I couldn't hold anymore. The forest had shown me silence as a kindness, not a punishment.
The girl opened the wooden box, and sound poured out like soft gold light. Fragments of laughter, echoes of calm wind, a heartbeat in perfect rhythm, the tender hum of belonging. It wasn't noise, it was connection, and I couldn't bear it. I closed the box with shaking hands and whispered, "Please, just let me forget." The girl hesitated, her glow dimming with sorrow. Then she touched the hollow place on my chest, the same place the figure had touched earlier, and the forest obeyed. It reached inside me and stole the memories that hurt. It erased the sound I was too afraid to feel. It left me empty, but quiet. A hollow heart, carved clean. The memory dissolved. I gasped as I returned to the present hut, stumbling back from the wall.
The hollow heart in the carving was glowing bright now, full white gold, as though the emptiness had finally filled. The light figure steadied itself, its glow regaining strength from my understanding. "You asked to forget," it whispered inside my mind. "We granted it. But the forest cannot hold your pain forever. It leaks, it echoes, it haunts."
The golden carvings brightened again,
soft pulses of breath-like light. The figure drifted closer. "It's time to take back what you left behind." My chest tightened, not with fear, but with something deeper. A gentle ache, a returning warmth. I'm not ready," I whispered. "No one ever is," the figure replied. "But you are no longer alone in the remembering." For a moment, silence wrapped around us, the kind that doesn't crush, doesn't suffocate, the kind that waits. The glowing children appeared again, this time faint outlines around the walls, watching with quiet hope. The box on the table creaked open by itself, a soft gold shimmer rising from within. The hum returned, gentle, familiar, like a lullaby from a dream half remembered. The forest outside leaned closer, every branch tilting as though listening, as though anticipating. And I realized something. The forest wasn't punishing me. It wasn't trapping me. It was giving me a chance to reclaim the piece of myself I abandoned here. The warm hum wrapped around my ribs again, inviting, patient. I stepped toward the open box. The light figure lifted a hand, its voice growing soft and steady. "Part of you has been waiting here a very long time." I touched the edge of the box. The hum surged, bright, gold, alive. My chest filled with warmth, almost too much, like emotion taking physical form, like sound returning to a place where it had always belonged. The moment my hand rested on the box, the gold light rose in a slow, spiraling bloom, soft as breath, warm as memory. It touched my chest first, not forcefully, not like something breaking in, but like something returning home. A faint echo pulsed inside me, gentle at first, then growing deeper, fuller. It wasn't noise, it wasn't overwhelming, it was simply human. A heartbeat. My own, but steadier, warmer, more alive than it had felt in years. The glowing children watched in absolute stillness, their outlines brighter, their silhouettes more real. The light figure stepped closer, its voice like a soft echo in my mind. "You left your sound here. Now you're taking it back." The forest leaned in through the open doorway, branches swaying without wind, leaves stirring with a quiet, waiting presence. Not threatening, not haunting, simply watching. The gold light settled into the hollow space inside my chest, filling it completely. The carving on the wall, the heart-shaped hollow, glowed one final time before slowly dimming, its purpose fulfilled. A warmth spread from my ribs to my throat, to the back of my eyes,
Not pain, not fear, just emotion, real and whole. And then something unexpected happened. The glowing girl, the one who had held the box in my memories, stepped forward. Her light flickered softly, almost shyly. I realized suddenly she wasn't a spirit. She wasn't an illusion. She was a memory I had personified, a younger version of my hope, my courage, the part of me that believed in gentler things.
She placed a small, glowing hand over mine and whispered, "You're not afraid of sound anymore." A warm tear slipped down my cheek. I hadn't cried in years, not because I was strong, but because I was empty. Now, I wasn't empty at all. The forest exhaled around us, a deep, soft whisper through its branches, like a lullaby. The light figure stepped back, its form dissolving slowly into the glow of the hut.
"You came here seeking silence," it murmured. "But what you really needed was gentleness." The gold light folded back into the box, quiet and complete. The lid closed softly, as if sealing a chapter that had waited too long to end. I stepped outside. The forest no longer felt vast or hollow. It felt alive, not loud, but full of subtle sounds I had forgotten how to love.
The hush of leaves brushing together, the far-off sigh of wind drifting through branches, the soft crunch of earth beneath my feet. None of it hurt. None of it pressed in too sharply. Everything was balanced, calm. As I walked along the trail back toward home, I realized the truth. The forest hadn't taken my sound. I had given it away because I didn't know how to carry it. Now I did. At the tree line, I turned back one last time. The hut stood quiet, the soft glow inside fading into darkness, like a lantern finally allowed to rest. But I felt no fear, no emptiness, only peace. A gentle whisper drifted through the trees, almost like a farewell.
Remember, silence is not the absence of sound, only the space where sound learns to breathe. I stepped into the open world again, the night sky vast above me, stars steady and watchful. And for the first time in years, I breathed in fully, letting the quiet and the sound exist together inside me, balanced, whole, finally home.